In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the core features in the Web Connect system that a lot of people use. We call it remote ordering, and in general, it's just a way for your users to create a sales order that will go into P21. There are a lot of different ways to create remote orders in Web Connect. The feature I'm going to show in this portion or this segment is the remote order form. It's the most flexible way to create a remote order. It has the most features and the most capability. To get to the remote order form, I simply select the New button at the top of the screen and the Quick Links menu, if you will, and select a New Remote Order. This will take me to a screen that we call the remote order form. The remote order form is a lot like a simplified version of a P21 order entry screen, only of course it's web-based. It lives in a browser. It'll operate on any mobile device that can get to the internet. The way you start a remote order in Web Connect with the remote order form is by simply selecting the ship to. If you know the ship to ID, you can simply type it in at this point. However, if you don't, you can always search. You can search by ship to name or customer name, starts with or contains. If you just click the search button, it'll bring back all the ship tos that are available to you as a user in alphabetical order. I'm going to go ahead and select 123 Warehousing Doc 2 and start a remote order for them. Notice that it brings back some mandatory notes. These are order notes in P21 that have been deemed mandatory for this customer when they create an order. So one is a blanket PO. They have a blanket PO out there, BR549-A, and then a second one, do not sell blue widgets. So these are useful things that will alert your users as you have them set up in P21 of things they should know when they create this order. So I've got the ship to selected, and from this point I can go ahead and add a few other things to the order header if I want to. I can go ahead and put in a PO number if I want to, the BR549. I'm going to skip it for right now. A job name if I want. Notice it went ahead and pre-selected a contract, 123 PPG. That's because this customer is set to always use contract pricing in P21, and this is the contract it determined we needed for that. Also, we've got terms set to net 45. I have a user permission out there that allows me to change this. However, you can lock this down and it'll be the ship to default for this particular customer. A few other interesting tidbits about this quote or order. I say it's quote or order because up here there's a checkbox that I can check or uncheck to make it a quote or an order at any time. Interestingly, you can lock this down for each user so that you can lock them into being able to create only quotes per instance. The same thing with import approved. That can be changed on a per user basis, and the ability to create an RMA. Again, a user permission out there. So the most straightforward way to add an item to this order or quote would be to simply type it in here. If I know the item ID, I can type it in and go. So in this case, I have an item that I sell all the time, a DAQ-6, and I will enter that item in and click tab, and it'll go out and find the information in P21. It gives me back the item description, the extended description. It defaults to a quantity of 1. The unit of measure defaults to each, which is the default sales unit. If there were more, of course, I could change that here. Interestingly, there actually is a permission to be able to change the unit of measure from the default. And that came up for a number of reasons where people were trying to keep people from selling units of measure other than the default out there. The pricing, this is P21 pricing, so it's going to use pricing libraries, last margin pricing. However this customer is set up to work in P21, it's going to bring back the same price in Web Connect. Quantity, obviously it defaulted to 1, but I can change this. I'm going to go ahead and make it a 2 because we want 2 of those standards at this point. Notice that it adjusts the extended price. There's also a permission to be able to change the unit price. I have that turned on for myself right now, so in this case I'm going to go ahead and move this up to 210. Now when I save the item in, it's going to go ahead and add this item to the remote order. And remember, this order only lives inside of Web Connect right now, so we can do pretty much anything we want to with it. We can add items, we can remove items, and think of it as a workspace where you can do all of this setup for the order before it actually goes into P21. Something that's interesting on this line for me is that we don't have any available on this location. And so the source location is 100 and we don't have any available for this. I can come to the line item itself and look over here and see what we've got going on. On this side, I've got item info. So this is, again, the information. If I had multiple locations for this item, it would show up here. But it shows me the on-hand allocated back order and some costing. Costing is another permission that you can set your users to be able to see, and which costing that they can see. So I can see I definitely don't have any of these. I can come over here to my item order history. This is interesting because it tells me that 123 Warehousing buys this item. I can see it's always been $208.50 for as long back as we have sold that to them here. So it's interesting. So I'll be going up on their pricing a little bit here. The next tab over is my PO tab. It'll tell me if there's any open purchase orders for this item. There are none found right now. If I do have any substitutes, I can click the sub item and it'll tell me if I have any substitutes right here. There are none for the Detroit sander, so that's okay. If this were an assembly, which obviously a sander is not an assembly, you would be able to see the component information. There are none here. Last but certainly not least is the item order notes box. So I can put in a topic here. I'm going to say rush order and put in a note, whatever it might be. Notice that this mandatory checkbox is here. It's checked and I can't change it. Yet another permission for each user that's out there. If I could change this, I could uncheck that. But as long as it's going to stay mandatory, this will become a pop-up note inside of P21. And when I add the item note in Web Connect, notice that it actually shows up here on the line item. So you can actually see it really, really quickly and easily on this part of the screen. I could add another note if I want to at this point as well, but I'm just going to close this out. Can go ahead and edit the note if I want to as well, but I'll leave it all alone for right now. So I said that was the most straightforward way to add an item to an order. There are definitely other ways to do it. One of my favorites are the bulk add item options over here. So I can add from sales history. I can add from an existing quote or order that's in Profit 21 right now. I can add items from contracts, so we know these guys have a contract out there, so I can just grab any item off the contract, which makes it very quick to do that. I can also add from something called our quick order forms and quick order templates. These are listings of items and inventory that are maintained inside of Web Connect, either associated with the customer or not. So you can just create these sub listings inside of Web Connect. A great example, if I go to my templates over here, I've got a quick order template out here that I can use. I've got a couple of them actually called specials. So you can create specials, you can create dead stock, all kinds of different ways you can add items from these templates. So just kind of give you an idea, I'm going to grab plant 19 lines for whatever reason. Find the items that are on here, and here are items that I've gone ahead and associated with plant 19 lines, whatever that might mean. So imagine just being able to break your inventory down like this. So to add items from this bulk feature, I just select which quantity I want for the items that I want and select add selected items. It'll go through, it'll calculate some pricing for me real quick. It'll look at all of the information going on behind the scenes and add these items to the order. Notice that it's flagged these in kind of a light blue at this point, or kind of a steel gray, whichever you want to see. And I can't add these specific items from this form to the order a second time this way. So if I go back to my order, I see these items are on the order. My order total has gone up to $440.57. If I needed to change pricing or things along those lines, I can do that here as well. Other interesting, it works pretty much the same way from sales history, quotes and orders, anything along those lines. It's just going to give you a listing of items. So if I look at my sales history, here's my item sales history for this customer, ordered by total sales in dollars. But again, I can look at this at total lines, total units, things like that. The idea is that if the customer is buying these items fairly regularly, that we should be able to, this might be the item that they're looking for. This can be really helpful if you have a user that, let's say you have a lot of inventory items that are similar, and you don't know exactly which one the customer wants without having to go through a bunch of research, you can simply look here, figure out which one it is they buy the most of, and go from there. Some interesting filtering capabilities. I can filter this by item ID. Of course, that works with wildcards, product groups, suppliers, things along those lines. Again, to go ahead and add these items to the order, just select what you want by putting quantities in. Click the Add Selected Items button. It will go out and ping P21 and try to find pricing and all that other information and add them to the order. Now I have a $1,106 order, so I can go ahead and look at the order details, and here are those items on here. This is interesting here. Notice that these two items come back with a cost that's higher than the unit price, and this is a P21 calculated price, and I see that I'm actually at a 20% loss on profit on these items. I want to show you something that's kind of a cool feature that you can do in Web Connect with this. If I go to my contract number over here, I'm going to deselect my P21 contract. When I do this, it's going to go through and it's going to recalculate all the pricing on this order for me. And I wanted to see if it would change. Yeah, it went ahead and changed these two items and took them off of contract pricing, and all of a sudden I've got a profit margin on here. So this is an indicator to me that I have a contract that is set up incorrectly with some fixed pricing that's kind of gotten antiquated. I might want to take a look at that. But at any time during this order, you can change this from contract pricing to not contract pricing. You can also turn it into a quote if you want to, or uncheck it and let it be an order. A few of the other interesting features on this remote order screen are under shipping. There's the ship to information here. You can grant your users the ability to change the ship to address. Most people don't, but some people we have do. Also the ship info screen. This is really neat. In P21, you're going to have some defaults for delivery instructions, freight code, carrier, packing basis, things like that for each one of your ship tos. If I uncheck this checkbox, I can edit these based on the permissions that I have inside of Web Connect. So each one of these is its individual permission. So if you just want to give your users the ability to select a different freight code or packing basis, but not the carrier, you always want the carrier to be the ship to default, then you can set that up if you want to, and they can only change, say, the packing basis or add delivery instructions. So in this case, I would leave it as partial, but go on from there. Customer, of course, I can see a little information about the customer. I can see customer notes that are here, which are kind of handy to have at times. And here's a neat feature: opportunities. So if you're using opportunities, which we're going to cover in another segment in this presentation, you know how powerful they can be. In Web Connect, you can actually link this remote order to an opportunity, which is kind of neat. We've expanded the opportunity system to be able to do that. You can also add classes here. We set a default class for our login inside of Web Connect to be VMI orders, and no default class too, but I could override these and change those based on my permissions. You can also get to order notes, so maybe I need to add a header note to the order, ship quickly. Everybody wants that, right? We'll save that in, and now we have an order note. Once I'm pretty happy with this order and I've got everything put on here that I want, there are a couple of different actions that I can take. I can confirm the order, and when I confirm it, it'll automatically go ahead and push this into P21. But another thing that I can do, I can simply go to my menu and email this. So maybe I just want to go ahead and send this out to my customer and have them take a look at it and tell me about other things they may want to hear, just proof it before I send it in. I can do that. I can just email it. Now, if I click this, it opens a pop-up where I can put a subject in, a little bit of content. If I've added any contacts to the order, I can copy any of the contacts, or I can just email it to myself, add some other notes on it, and send it on out that way. I've gone ahead and taken the time to print out a quick one of these or send myself one so we don't have to wait for the mail. And this is what it looks like when you actually receive the order. So this Web Connect, do more with P21, obviously this is going to be your logo for your organization. It's going to look like, in this case, this is an order. It would be a quote acknowledgement, word quote, that type of thing. But we try to make this look like a little bit like a Web Connect, or I'm sorry, a P21 order acknowledgement. It has a lot of the same things on there. Very simple, easy to read. We can customize this quite a bit to your needs as well. If I am ready to go with it, I'll just go ahead and click confirm. If I click confirm, it's basically going to pop up a thing that says, are you ready to go ahead and send this in? I say okay, and then it'll go out and do some validation. Notice that it gave me a little warning over here. This order requires a PO. So this setting pulls from P21, and it can actually be secondarily enforced from Web Connect, which means that even if the customer does not require a PO inside of Profit 21, you can make it to where the user is always required to put in a PO no matter what inside of Web Connect. So it's just a secondary safety mechanism. So I'll put in PO number 1 and try it again. Click confirm, say OK. And basically it's going to go through and it's calculating, and it put this order out here. This is my remote order listing. So it's got all the orders that I have out there that I'm working on or that I've sent into Profit 21 and their various statuses. Here's my order I just put in with PO number 1. I can see it came from the order form. It's sent. If this were received by now, I would already probably see a P21 order number that I could click and view that order inside of Web Connect. I can see its approved status, its P21 complete status, its P21 validation status. Maybe this order went on hold for some reason. The total number of lines and the total unit price, or total cumulative price for the order that's out there. More than likely, this order would be received within about 5 or 10 seconds. That's what most of our clients have set up. If I do, I can still open up the order and work with it a little bit. I can take a look at it from here, re-email it. It'll open the thing up from here. If I need to send another email out, I can still do that. If you're an admin, you can even reconfirm the order and send it in a second time. So anyway, this was a quick review of the Web Connect remote order screen. Thank you.